Hello all you biblical apocalypse loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic and today we're going to be reviewing Darksiders Warmastered Edition, which is the remastered version of the original Darksiders game. Darksiders, for those who are unaware, is a franchise centering around the four horsemen of the apocalypse during the end times of the world, as told kind of by Christian mythology. However, it is slightly different from Christian mythology. It imbues not only the Christian theology but also various magical and mystical and fictional parts and combines it together to create a whole unique world and setting. The original Darksiders focuses on the story of War, the basically leader of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. They are all brothers and essentially he gets called forth, and when he arrives upon the Earth's surface he finds that the demons and angels are in an eternal battle. Mankind is stuck in the middle, getting utterly obliterated, and he doesn't understand what the hell's going on because the time for the apocalypse has not yet arrived, and yet he heard the call to come forth. So after that, he gets stripped of his powers by the Charred Council, which is essentially a council of beings that are there to make laws and maintain balance throughout the three kingdoms, which are the kingdom of man, the kingdom of demons, and the kingdom of heaven. And it is very simple that he gets brought forth before the Charred Council. He is accused of starting the apocalypse early and then is tasked with he's basically given the opportunity to prove himself innocent by going back to Earth and destroying the person responsible. Because the Charred Council don't fully trust War and don't believe his innocence, he is chained to the Watcher, who is voiced by Mark Hamill and does an excellent job of it, by the way, who is there to enforce the Council's will upon War as he traverses the new landscape. But enough about the story and setting, let's get on to the gameplay. Now, for those who are unaware, Darksiders is eventually a action-adventure game that is very coincident with the spectacle fighter, very much in the style of things like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, that kind of thing, just without the more flashy elements of those games. It's nitty-gritty fighting, it's smooth, it's fluid, and the gameplay throughout the franchise, including Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2, where you play as Death, it is a phenomenal ride. It is a well-told story, a vivid, well-imagined world, and the gameplay itself, the mechanics of the combat are just absolutely sublime. It's very fluid and works on a fairly simple premise. So you have your abilities, you're able to upgrade those abilities and gain new abilities. You're able to unlock new combos as you progress and collect souls, which is the game's currency, which then you can use to purchase new equipment, new weapons, and more combos. It's a fairly simple and straightforward experience. The game is fairly linear, it's narratively driven. There are a couple of areas that you can explore and find different items and secrets. Once you get further into the game, you're able to gain access to your warhorse and fire along on his fiery steed, which is a lot of fun. The same goes for the second game also. Now, Darksiders, when it originally came out, was a fantastic game. It was developed by Vigil Games, published by the then THQ, the remastered version is published by THQ Nordic, and it was a fantastic game at the time. The Darksiders 2 sequel was also a fantastic game. It did change a little bit of a few of its elements, including adding an inventory system and a loot system that was very more akin to an RPG system, but still maintained its spectacle fighter combat, which was, in my opinion, a great move for the franchise. The original captured my imagination, I have to say, and when the Warmastered Edition was announced, I was very happy that it was to receive a remaster. However, one of the things I didn't understand is why it needed a remaster, because the original art style of the game and of the second game, they're kind of timeless in a way, in the sense that, you know, it's not hyper-realistic graphics, there are cartoon and very vibrant aesthetics in there, so for me, it did look dated by any means, because even if you have a fantastic art style, it's always going to look dated at some point, but in essence, the art style was very much timeless. Now, the developers for the remastered version have improved multiple things, so there's now support for up to 4K video output resolution. And most importantly, they've doubled all the texture resolutions, they re-rendered all the cutscenes, they put in multiple shadow improvements and shadow rendering quality. They added a whole ton of post-processing effects. They've supposedly optimized frame rate, which I'll talk about in a second, but there's a whole host of options and graphical upgrades available in the Warmastered Edition. But does it mean anything? Well, for me, actually, it massively, surprisingly improves the experience overall. So the first is the fact that the game will now run at 60 frames per second, which, ask anyone who knows anything about spectacle fighters, the more frame rate, the better. And for the most part, Warmastered does run at 60 FPS. However, it does have a few optimization issues throughout the game, particularly in boss fights. I struggle to maintain 30 frames per second. On the occasion, it did tend to tank. However, it was for the most part a solid 60 FPS experience, and I think that that kind of unoptimization will be patched out at a later date. However, the biggest addition for me, and the thing that surprised me most about the entire experience as I went through the game once again a couple of years later, was the fact that I really appreciated all the different effects that they've added, and I actually feel that they really enhance the quality of the experience, the quality of the world, and the quality of the overall story. All the special effects that have been added to enemies, particularly the bosses, add a sense of epicness and grandness that was not there in the original, and you didn't miss it in the original by any stretch of the imagination, but now it's there, and remembering what wasn't there before, it certainly makes a massive difference. Even at the very start of the game, when you first meet the Charred Council, which are essentially giant skulls of rock with burning eyes and flames coming out of the mouth, I remember that being fairly okay in the original, and this time it adds a sense of epicness, it adds a sense of almost fear towards the Charred Council, which was not there before, which is due down to just adding a few of those effects that makes the overall experience a ton more pleasurable. I often say that I'm not one for remastered games when they just focus on graphical quality and improving the graphical and visual side of things. However, when you have a game like Darksiders that its core mechanics are absolutely solid and executed really, really well in the first place, you have sound and voice acting that is, again, really well executed, and it's just fantastic. You have a soundtrack that's fantastic. You know, what else can you improve other than the graphics? And it's one of those cases where I have pleasantly been proven wrong in this case, because the Darksiders Warmastered Edition is far superior to that of the original game, just simply because of its graphical upgrade, because it runs at 60 FPS and the spectacle fighter, which in turn directly affects the enjoyment of the core gameplay, because of the addition of all those special effects that, as a story lover, just makes everything that much more immersive. And overall, I think it is a fantastic remaster. There's very little wrong here, apart from the unoptimization issues, apart from the FPS tanks. I have to say I was really, really impressed. And if you have not played Darksiders, the original game, I highly recommend getting into it now, because for $20 you get the original game, which was phenomenal, plus the benefit of all the remastered editions. And for me, it is an absolute steal at $20 even today. And then you can go on to Darksiders 2, especially get the definitive edition. That is a really good complete package, and for me it's a great game. I'm looking forward to THQ Nordic in particular hopefully making another Darksiders game, because this is certainly a franchise of games that I do not want to see go away anytime soon. And that's it for my Darksiders Warmastered Edition review. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you guys are also fans of Darksiders and you want to talk story, lore and characters with me, please let me know in the comment section and we can talk all you want. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.